Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this placemat. Now it's made with the Jasmine stitch or the puff star stitch, I call it that sometimes. This stitch is a consumer, as I mean it consumes your time and it consumes quite a bit of yarn, but it is so pretty and it's well worth it. This is a very nice thick placemat, and it would make if you made a set of 4 or whatever, it would make a wonderful gift. I would love to receive a gift of these because they're thick, they're nice. It's made with cotton, so it's going to be nice and waterproof. You know, if you got a set of drink or something on it, it's going to be really durable. I mean, I think they turned out very nice. They're really pretty. So I'll just go ahead and get started on it. For this project, I am using Peaches and Cream, which is a medium weight of 100% cotton yarn. The color I'm using is Mint, but you can use any color that you want. And there are 120 yards in this skein, and it took me 2 and a little bit more of another one, so just a little bit more. So I'm going to say you're going to need, of your main color, about 250 yards per placemat. Like I said, it takes a lot of yarn to make it, and then you're going to need probably another 25 yards or whatever for the edging, and I just used regular white, same brand, just white around the edges. But you can use any color, and you don't even have to do any edging on it, but that's completely up to you. But remember, 250 yards per placemat. So it took me 2 and a little bit more of another one to make one mat. And then I am using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Now I'm going to try to teach you this stitch the best that I can. And it's not a hard stitch. Like I said, it's just a little time consuming. You want to start with the slip knot on your hook. And then we're going to work a chain of 2. 1, 2. Now we're going to work a puff stitch back into that first chain. Now this is how we're going to do our puffs. We're going to yarn over, go into that first stitch, and drop a loop. And we want to do that 4 times. So that was 1, 2, 3. It's kind of tight to get into that first stitch, but and there's 4. Now you should have 9 loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 loops on your hook. Now this is probably the tricky part of it. You want to put your finger right here so this string does not pull all the way through whenever you pull through your loops. So put your finger there, yarn over and grab that and go through all the loops like that, and then take your hook and put it through that loop that's on your finger and let go, and then you want to pull it nice and tight like that, and then you go through that one loop like that, and then you single crochet through those 2, and that's your first of the bottom row of puffs. Now you can do this stitch and you can make it for anything you want to make. There's no certain multiples of puffs. You can make as many puffs as you want. Now for the pot holder that I'm going to do a base chain of 18 puffs. So I'm going to pull up a little bit, and now I'm going to be working through this single crochet that we just did. So I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to do my puff through that space. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 9 loops on my hook. Put my finger there, grab this and pull through all 9 loops, and with this loop still on my hook, go through that loop that my finger was holding, and then pull it tight, and then grab your yarn and go through that first loop, and then do a single crochet through these 2 loops, or grab your yarn and go through those 2 loops. So that's puff number 2. Again, I'm going to pull up a little bit and I'm going to do a puff through the single crochet here. So I'm going to yarn over and go through. There's once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. 9 loops on my hook. Put my finger here, grab this, go through all the loops. With this loop still on my hook, go through the loop that's on my finger, like that. Now pull tight, like that. And then you grab this yarn back here, pull it through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through both loops, like that. So there's 3 puffs for our base chain. Again, I'm going to pull up, yarn over, go into that single crochet there, and do your puff. That's once, twice, 3 times, and 4. 9 loops on my hook. Put my finger here, grab my yarn, go through all the loops, leave this yarn on my hook, go through that loop that my finger has grabbed, pull it tight, and then I'm going to grab this yarn and pull it through that first loop, and then I'm going to yarn over and go through both the loops on my hook. There's 4 stitches for my base chain. Again, I'm going to pull up and go through that single crochet and do a puff. So now 1, 2, 3, 4. Put my finger right there, grab that yarn, pull it through, and then go with this yarn still on my hook, go through that one that my finger was holding, pull tight, grab this yarn with my hook and pull it through that first loop, and then grab it and go through both loops on my hook. There's 5 for my base chain. And like I said, you can make a blanket out of this if you had the time and all the yarn. You can just make these puffs for as long as you want whatever project you're making to be. Now remember, we're going to do 18 of these for my placemat. Finger goes right there, grab my yarn, pull it through, go through that loop that my finger was holding, pull tight, grab my yarn, go through that first loop, and yarn over and go through both loops like that. Okay, again. Like that. There's 7 loops already. Remember, you need to do 18. For the purpose of the tutorial, I'm just going to make 1 more puff and then I'll start the second row. But you need to make 18 if you're following along with me. Just like that. Okay, now once you get your 18 puffs done, remember I'm going to do mine smaller because I already got my pot holder done. for the tutorial. What you're going to do is, now this is where it starts to get a little bit trickier. It's not hard, it just takes practice. So what you want to do is, we're going to do a puff right here into this very first puff. The very first single crochet. Kind of like we're just adding another puff to the row. So, do your puff. And now we're not going to yarn over and go through it right now. We're going to go to the next single crochet between the next two puffs and do another puff with all these loops on our hook. So we yarn over and go through those spaces, right through that space, and do another puff. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not going to yarn over again. We're going to do one more puff into this next space between the next two puffs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you should have a total of 1, 2, 3, 2, 25 loops on your hook. Now what you want to do is, we're going to do what we did before. We're going to put our finger there, grab our yarn, and go through all the loops that are on our hook. But we need to hold that yarn there, just like we were doing before. So go through all the loops like that. And that takes some practice to go through. Cotton is not as easy to go through that many loops as acrylic is. But once you get some practice down, you'll be able to do it really quick. And then with this loop still on your hook, you go through that loop right there. Now this is the most important part. You want to make sure when you're doing the 3 puffs on your stitch, you pull it as tight as you can. Because if you don't get it tight, you're going to have holes in the middle of your stars, and you don't want that. Trust me, it just don't look appealing. So you just go, we just do what we did before. I didn't even show you. Once you get it pulled really tight as you can. It's very important. Yarn over and go through that first loop, just like we did before, and then yarn over and go through those 2 loops, just like that. Now we're going to do that again, and we're going to work in this loop, or this hole, and then that next hole. So we're going to pull up our yarn a little bit and do a puff into the very first hole there. Like that. And then we're going to go right down here to this next spot. We went through it before. We're going to go through it again. Do a puff. And then this next one right here that we have not went through yet. Okay, once you got all those loops, 25 total, put your finger there again to hold that yarn. Grab and go through all the loops like that. And then go through this loop that your finger is holding. Very important, pull it as tight as you can get it. This is why it's time consuming, because you got to stop and make sure it's tight, and you just want to make sure that it's tight. Now we're going to go through that first loop, yarn over, go through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. And that's your next one. I got a little hanger there, but that won't be seen. Now we're going to do it again, and we're going to go through the first one, this next one down here that we already went through, and then this one right here that we haven't gone through. So pull up a little bit and do your first puff. Go down and go into this spot right here that we went through last time. And do a puff. And then we go through this one right here that we have not went through yet. Like that. Finger there, grab your yarn, go through all the loops like that. This loop's still on your hook. Go ahead and put your hook through that loop that your finger was holding. Pull it as tight as you can get it, like that. Grab that yarn and go through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through both loops. This is the most important part, is to make sure you pull it tight right there, because if you don't, like I said, you're gonna have holes in your stars, and you don't want that, trust me. You want them to be nice and tight together, or as tight as you can get them together. Okay, pull up, we do it again. We work right here in this first loop, or first hole opening. Do a puff. And then this next one down here that we worked in last round. And then the next one that we have not worked in yet. Okay, finger there, grab that yarn, go through all the loops like that. Go ahead and go through that, grab that loop that your finger was holding, pull it as tight as you can get it. Very important. Grab your yarn and go through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through both of the loops like that. And you can see it starting to form. These are the eyes of the stars. So we're going to do it again. Pull up a little bit. We're going to do it until we get to the end of the row. So we pull up a little bit, go through the first, puff through that first opening. And it'll get easier if you just keep practicing. If you've never done this stitch before, it just takes practice, that's all. And then it's not hard at all. And then our next spot is the stitch down here that we went through in our previous round, our previous row. And then we go into the next one that we have not went into yet. Put your finger here, grab it, go through all the loops like that. Go through that one that your finger was holding, pull it really tight. Grab your yarn again, go through that first loop on your hook, and then yarn over and go through those two. And then we're going to do it again. Pull up a little bit, puff into this first spot. And then the spot down here that we went through the last time. And then this spot here between these two puffs that we have not went through yet. Put your finger there, grab your yarn, go through all the loops. Go through that loop that your finger is holding. Pull tight. Grab that yarn, go through that first loop. Yarn over and go through the next two loops like that. Now we got one more, and this last one is the hardest one to do of the row. So we'll go ahead and pull up and go through this first one and puff in it. Like that. And then we go into this spot down here that we already went through once. Go through it again. And then the last one is right here in this end stitch, and it's the hardest one probably. Remember, yours is going to be a lot longer than mine because I started mine shorter. But when you get to the end, you got to puff into this last stitch. It's good to kind of loosen that knot up if you can. But go ahead and puff into that. One. It's hard because the knot tights up on you. That's what I find hard about it. I'll loosen it up a bit. There we go. Okay, got it. Now we're going to put our finger there, yarn over and go through all those loops. Go through that loop that was holding, your finger was holding, pull tight. Go through that first, yarn over and go through that first loop, and then yarn over and go through those two loops. And then you can pull that back tight again, your knot again. And that is what it looks like so far. Now we're going to start a row, the next row by chaining one and turning. Now we start the beginning of every row with one single puff into this stitch. So let's go ahead and do one single puff. Every row gets started with one single puff. And then you still hold your yarn, go through like that. Go through the one that your finger's holding, pull it tight, yarn over and go through the first loop, and yarn over and go through both loops. Now we're going to start again with our 3 loops or 3 puffs on our hook. We're going to work in this one, the eye right here, and then this one right here. So we'll start, pull up a little bit and puff right here at the top of this first one. Go down to this one right here, the next opening, puff, and then the next opening here and puff. And we just did the same thing, finger there, yarn over, go through all the loops, then go through the loop that your finger is holding, pull it nice and tight, go through that, yarn over, go through the first loop, and yarn over and go through both loops on your hook. Now we're going to start again. with this loop, or this hole, and the next hole. Puff in the first one. Puff in this one down here. And then we puff on this one that we have not worked in yet. Put your finger here, yarn over, go through all the loops. Put your yarn through that one that your finger was holding. Pull it as tight as you can get it. Yarn over, go through that first loop, and yarn over and go through both loops on your hook. And you can see your stars starting to form. And they are going to have a teeny tiny hole, yes, but not much of one. Once you get it put together, mine didn't really have much of holes, and you don't want holes, trust me. If you get big holes and like just a few of them because you didn't get it tight enough, it's just not gonna look good. Takes a little practice to get it, but you can do it. I know you can. Puff back in this first one. Sometimes I lose track how many puffs I did there, or how many. And then back down in this one right here that we worked in before. And then this next hole here that we did not work in yet. Put your finger there, yarn over, go through all the loops. Put your hook there where your finger was holding, pull it nice and tight. Yarn over, go through that first loop, and yarn over and go through the rest of them, like that. There you got 2 stars formed right here completely. This one's not quite formed, but you just want to repeat this to the end of the row. So we'll work in this one, and this one until we get to the end. And then this one right here that we haven't worked in. Put your finger there, yarn over, go through all the loops on your hook, go through the one that your finger is holding, pull nice and tight, yarn over and go through that first one, and then yarn over and go through both of those. Again, I'll start again. I'll go in this one, and this one, and I'll just keep repeating that until I get to the end of my row. Okay, I've made it here to where I'm going to be doing my last puff, so that's what it's starting to look like right there. So my last puff, I'm going to pull up and go into this first one. Puff in it. Puff on this next one down here that we previously worked in. And then the last puff, like I said, it's always hardest. It goes right here in this little spot on the end. I think it's the hardest. You might not find it hard. You might find it to be easy. This is awkward for me. Like that. Put your finger there, yarn over, go through all the loops. Go through that loop that your finger was holding. Pull tight. Yarn over and go through the first loop, and yarn over and go through both loops like that. And that's what it starts to look like. Now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to start our next row by doing one single puff right here in this eye of this end star. Remember, every row starts with one single puff. finger there, like that. Grab that, pull it tight, go through both two. Now we just start again with another row of puffs. Pull up and go through the top of this puff we just made with the puff stitch. And then we go right down here to this one. And then the next one. Finger here, yarn over, go through all the loops. Go through the one that your finger's holding, pull it tight. Yarn over, go through the first one, and then yarn over and go through both on your hook. Just like that. And now we're just going to keep repeating the row. Back and forth, back and forth. So I'll start and I'll puff here, here, and here, tie it off, and then I'll start puffing at the top of the star again. It's just 3 puffs in every row, just like I did. Just repeat the previous row that we just did, all the way to the end. Chain 1 and turn, start it off with 1 puff, and then you repeat it again. Back and forth, back and forth. And you want to do that till you get your pot holder as thick as you want it to be. Okay, I went ahead and did 11 total rows, and that is counting that very first row of puff stitches. So if we count that one, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And this was part of the last row. But you can make it as big as you want. Or if you look, you can see I did, like, here's a set of stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets. So however you want to count it. Okay, now I just ended up here at the top and I didn't tie off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work in this color around it with a row of single crochet. So I went ahead and I did my last star here. Now what I'm going to do is work it down. This starting to work down this side, I want to start with a chain of 1. Now I'm going to work in the puff stitches. Now if you look, you can kind of see that the puff stitches kind of have what appears to be a little stitch there, but sometimes you can't really find it. But what I do, it's not easy to see, but kind of just grab those 2 little stitches in the middle of the puff stitch like that, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets in that same stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to do 1 single crochet right there into that space, the eye of the star, like that. Now I'm at my next puff stitch, so you just kind of got to look, and if you look, you'll see those 2 little stitches that I'm talking about. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets into that spot, and then 1 into the eye of the star, like that. And then I'm at my next puff. Just kind of look here. If you can't find the really right stitches, just kind of grab a couple stitches that are in the middle of the puff if you can, like that. And I'm going to do 2 single crochets through that stitch. So there's 1. Oops, my yarn's splitting. And 2, and then 2 in the eye of the star, or 1 in the eye of the star. I'm sorry, it's 2 in each puff and 1 in the eye of the star. And then my next puff, 2, 1, 2, and 1 in the eye of the star. 2 in the next puff, 1, 2, and 1 in the eye of the star. Now I'm going to continue this down until I get to my first corner. Okay, I've made it down here to the end, and I just put 2 single crochets in my last puff stitch, and now I'm down here at the corner stitch, and it's the eye of the star. What I'm going to do is put 2 single crochets into that eye, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to go into the eye again and put 2 more single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. So that was 2 single crochets, a chain 2 into the eye of that last star. And now I'm going to start working down the long side, doing the same thing, working 2 single crochets in the puff stitches and 1 in the eye of the star. So 1, 2, and 1 in the eye of the star. One, 2, and 1 in the eye of the star. And I'm going to do this all the way around, all the way down the long side, and then when I get to this corner, it's going to be 2 single crochets, a chain 2, 2 single crochets. Then I'm going to work it all the way up until I get to this corner. So then it'll be 2 single crochets, chain 2, 2 single crochets, and then all the way across the top until I get back to the beginning, working 2 single crochets in every puff, the side of every puff, and 1 in the eye until we get to the corners, and the corners get 2 single crochet, chain 2, and 2 single crochet, all the way back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it all the way back to the beginning, and I just did 2 single crochets in my last puff, and then I have this star, the eye of the star of the last stitch. So what we want to do is go ahead and do our 2 single crochets, chain 2, and 2 more single crochets in that same stitch, and then we're going to end with a slip stitch in our first single crochet, not this chain 1 that we did, the first single crochet that we did over here on the side. So just go ahead and slip stitch into that and tie that off, clip your yarn, and then you can hide that tail if you want. I'm going to go ahead and put a simple border around it now with white. So I'm going to take my white yarn, and you can start it anywhere that you want. Probably just start kind of where we left off. I'm just going to start right here along the side somewhere, maybe in this same stitch here. So what I'm going to do is start my yarn by chaining 1, and I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and single crochet, and now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my first corner, my first, where we did the 2 single crochet, chain 2, 2 single crochet, and I'll do something a little bit different there. So I'm just working 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my first corner. Okay, I've made it down here to my chain 2 space. Now I single crocheted all the way up to the last stitch there. That last stitch before the chain 2 space, I'm going to do a half double crochet into it. Not a single, but a half. And now I'm going to be working in the chain 2 space. And what I'm going to do is a double, 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles in a row, This is all into that chain space. Now I'm going to do a picot on my 4th double. So what I'm going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to come back down into the top. I like top of the same stitch. I kind of like, a lot of people would go into that first chain. I like to kind of grab the side like that. I think it makes the picot stand still firmer like that. So now you got a little point on that last stitch. Now I'm going to go still into the same chain 2 space and work 3 double crochets again. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then pull this over into this very first stitch. You don't want to miss it. You want to pull this over and do a half double crochet like that. And that is what I'm going to do on each of my corners. So I'll go over it again. I did a half double on the last stitch, and then in the chain 2 space I did 4 doubles in a row, and then I did a picot on the 4th one, and then I did 3 more double crochets into the same chain space, and then that next stitch after I did a half double. And now I'm going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space, and I'll meet you over there and we'll do that again and put that point on that on the next corner. Okay, I've made it to my other corner. Here's my chain 2 space. Here's the stitch right before it. I'm not going to single crochet into it. I'm going to put a half double crochet into that stitch. Now into the chain 2 space we're going to do 4 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now on this 4th one we will put a picot. So we'll go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Come back down and slip stitch right in the top of the stitch. I grab these 2 side stitches like that, and then slip stitch that, and that will form your little picot or your point. Now I'm still working in the same chain space. I'm going to do 3 more doubles. It's 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to half double into that next stitch like that, and then I'm going to continue single crocheting, 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space or my next corner, and then I'm going to do the same thing there. So I'm just going to repeat this on all 4 corners. I have 2 more to go. I'm just putting single crochets in between them. So I'll meet you when I get back around to my last corner. Okay, I made it back around and I did my last corner here, and I did a half double crochet in the next stitch, and now I'm going to single, and so I make it actually just 1 single to where I started. If you started in a different spot, just single crochet to get up to your first single crochet that you did of the round, slip stitch into it, like that, and then tie that off, clip your yarn. Now I'm going to hide all my tails real quick, and then we will be finished here. Okay, once you get all your tails hidden, that's it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoy my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, have a good day.